Hello, welcome to the NJP podcast, the podcast for streamers by streamers. I'm Joe.
And I'm Nick.
And this week we're going to be bringing you, of course, all the latest gaming and Twitch news, as well as...
We're going to be talking today about providing an experience as a streamer and why context matters.
Okay, first story up this week is an article by IGN. So the UK games industry has formed a new initiative, Games for Carers, which will provide more than 85,000 games for NHS workers. Now in the UK, that is the National Health Service. The health service which is free for all British citizens at point of contact. As a thank you for their work during the COVID-19 crisis. And there are many major and independent games companies that are going to be part of this, including EA, Codemasters, Konami, Sega, Xbox. And yeah, from the 29th of April, 2 days ago, they will be able to pick from 85,000 plus games to download for free. Now, I think it's a really nice gesture, obviously, given the crisis of everything. But I just think, well, at the minute, those are the people who are working more hours than anyone else and are working all the overtime. So I don't know how much time they've got to play these games, but I guess maybe when things calm down, it'll give them something to do in their off time. And the other thing I thought was, well, I guess actually if they are working on the front line, they are a high risk and probably are very limited to who they see and which family they see in particular. So they might even be self-isolating from their families at home. I don't know. So I guess maybe it is something that they've thought a bit more about. But I just feel like, yes, it's a nice gesture, but I'm not really sure, how much of a difference that will make. I don't know, like if you were working as a nurse or a doctor and you came home and you were absolutely shattered, that's what you'd want to do, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's a lot of different companies doing different things, free meals. Well, they are over here. I don't know about in the States, but there's a lot of places giving free meals and stuff to NHS staff for their work during this time of the pandemic. I don't know whether it's just something to get their name out there or whether they do actually care and they want to help, because those games companies are working as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing that sticks out most to me is, they probably don't have a lot of time, but I am very fond of Stardew Valley because when my dog had a health issue and I was having a breakdown, like my world was just shattered and I was just so upset. It was really hard to cope with the fact that she almost passed away. And I played a lot of Stardew Valley because it gave me like an escape. It was like a nice little perfect world. Like it really did help get me back onto my feet. So having that little escape, I don't know what games they'll be offered. I don't know if they'll feel the same, sense of escapism I felt when I was in Stardew Valley. But having those available to them, I think that'll be really nice. I am curious how long they'll be available though, because like you said, they are working a lot right now. Yeah. So I don't know if this is like they're permanently available. Maybe they'll get some titles to keep forever, or if it's going to be for a few months. So that's something I'm curious about. I will say though, if you're an NHS worker who has children who you can't really see because you're working overtime, that might be a nice way to entertain them.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, and something I hadn't really thought about. Yeah, that is a really good point. So if you go to the Games for Carers website, I've gone to the Games for Carers website, and all it says is you can't really see much unless you are a NHS worker, because you need a registered NHS email address to gain access. But on here, it says that it's a giveaway, which it didn't really say on the IGN post, but it says that they've got games for every platform. New games are being added every day, so you don't need to rush, but there's nothing in terms of dates or anything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. A nice gesture for sure. And there are some massive studios on there listed. I guess it's just I guess it's just a nice way of trying to give something back to the people that have been helping, which I guess is never a bad thing. And like you say, they can be a nice escape. I'd imagine it's pretty lonely if you're working as a nurse or a doctor right now, and you go back you're going back to an empty home, and you're not allowed to see anybody, especially given the jurisdiction in which you work. So, yeah, it could be a nice escapism. All right, so next up for the third week, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII. Now, we've already spoke about this, and I've given my opinion on Final Fantasy VII, but the big question is we don't know how or when or how many episodes the game's going to have, when they're going to come out. But now the producer is saying that they want to develop small chunks at a fast rate, which means, well, we don't know what it means. I really like the game, and the more I play it, the more I like it. But I'm not sure how I feel about, no sort of timescales whatsoever and no sort of ideas. Like, they don't even know yet, it seems, whether they are going to split it 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways. Yeah. They still don't really seem to know, and that worries me a little bit, that it could get, like, the plot could get lost. They could end up having to rush parts, or they give too much of the story to one of the episodes of it. I don't know. Also, I don't know what happens, like, and there's nothing about whether you carry everything over or whether you just start at a default level on the next like on the next section, on the next episode. Yeah. It doesn't, nobody knows.
That's funny. Snack Daddy and I were talking about that, about how they're gonna handle that.
Yeah, we don't know. Nobody seems to know. I don't think they know, to be honest. And it would be a shame, because they seem to have made a real good job of the first episode, up to the point I'm at. I think I'm about 50% of the way now. So and it worries me a bit, because the game is so close to my heart. But I also worry that, is this something that other developers will look at and say, well, we could remake this game, or bring out this game, and we don't really have to worry about how far we get in the story, because we know, like, we've seen TV series like Lost, for instance, which literally lost its way, excuse the pun, like, big time. Like, it started off really good, and then they didn't really know how to end it, and there was loads of loose ends that weren't tied up. And I hope it doesn't happen for Final Fantasy VII Remake, but 2, I really hope that it's not something that we need to be getting used to in the future, because gamers are particularly impatient, but the thought of not knowing how the story is going to end or where it's going to go at all, and not tying up loose ends within the game that you have. I mean, you always want to leave something for sequels and stuff, but this is different. We're talking about episodes. It just feels a little bit baity. I don't know. Or is it a money-making thing? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a concern. Are they going to charge $60 for, like, a bunch of really short games? Exactly. Because I mean, $60 is a lot to a lot of people, especially now, who have been laid off. So, you kind of want the bang for your buck. And the other thing is, they spent a long time making this remake, didn't they? Wasn't it like years?
Oh, it's years. The fact that
they're talking about speeding it up, I'm wondering if we'll get the same quality, because the quality of this game is fantastic. Like,
it's massive.
A fun little fact is, if you take Cloud and walk him over stairs, he will actually adjust his position and have, like, one boot on one stair and another on another stair. And that's something a lot of games typically overlook, like the character kind of but you don't really notice it. So, like, they put so much love and passion, and there's so many little details.
Yeah.
And the thought of them kind of rushing a bunch of episodes, I'm wondering if we're going to get the same quality of game, because I think if we don't, a lot of people are going to be really disappointed. I think most people, in my experience, would rather wait, and this proves across all platforms. Like, World of Warcraft suffers from this as well. We'd rather wait for something that's really, really good.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking on World of Warcraft, actually, the World of Warcraft is a really interesting one because obviously Blizzard, who made World of Warcraft and the Warcraft games and StarCraft and all of that, they've undergone so many changes over the years. And it's the same with Final Fantasy. Squaresoft were bought by Squaresoft became Square Enix, and quite a lot of things changed. So and it is it does worry me, but the biggest thing for me is that this doesn't become like the norm.
Yeah.
I'd have sooner waited and had the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But it probably wasn't an ideal time in the games console generation's lifespans for that to happen, seeing as we're on the eve of having the PS5 and the new Xbox. So maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, with having new hardware come out, there's the opportunity to make it even better. I hope they really do take their time and make it something spectacular and phenomenal. Because I mean, just looking at this game, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah. It's so immersive. And I hope they don't lose that touch. Yeah. For the sake of getting things out. So. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So the next story is something that I spoke about on last week's podcast, and we first spoke about on the podcast 2 weeks ago, and that was Valorant. So after we spoke about Valorant a couple of weeks ago, I actually went and took a look.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? It does look like Counter-Strike. Maybe I'll give it a go. So I did. And as I told the story on the stream last week, you have to wait for a Twitch drop, which is all on last week's podcast. But what's been happening over time is a lot of streamers have realized, well, they spread it out so that anybody streaming Valorant was giving out Twitch drops. Now, at first, it was only a selected few, and then it became everyone. So what some streamers did was say, hey, well, I'll just put a 24/7 stream on, even when I'm not streaming, just replaying stuff. And these streams have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching them. I don't really know what they were hoping to achieve because you never get given partnership that way. But Twitch has finally put a stop to this. Yeah. And there's a tweet from Twitch that said, we've heard concerns about creators continuously streaming VODs while tagging the channel as live to farm Valorant drops. This harms the integrity of our drops program. So we've updated our community guidelines to clarify that cheating any Twitch rewards system is prohibited. My favorite part of that tweet is where it says, this harms the integrity of our drops program. Because I would question the integrity of that drops program, given what I described last week, where people are in a stream and they're just lurking. They've probably got it on mute or not even at all in a window that's closed off, which is what I did. Yeah, because I didn't want to watch anybody play it particularly. I just wanted to have a go myself and see what it felt like, and I didn't even like the game anyway. In the end, but I like literally the whole stream was, how do I get a key? I still don't have a key. The chat was just boom, 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 boom. I don't have a key. How do I get a key? Incredibly frustrating. I hope that this isn't the future of closed betas because it's, in my opinion, it's a really bad way of doing it. And I if I'd have been really wanted to play the game and I'd had to wait like I did 48 hours and mess about doing all that stuff, then I'd be pretty annoyed because I didn't even like the game anyway. Yeah. But it continues to be right at the top because of what's happening, and I would imagine that that'll probably drop. I don't think that much of the game. A lot of the big streamers do like it and are streaming it though, but I don't know if that's because it's flavor of the week or as we spoke about before. But I just hope that, again, I hope it's something that going forward we don't see too much of. Yeah,
I will say, from a business perspective, it's pretty ingenious.
It honestly. Is, yeah.
It's pretty, yeah. I don't know who thought of it, but like really, mad props to them, because now you're having so many people, like you're piquing interest all your friends have keys, so you kind of want a key, even if maybe you weren't that interested in playing it. You're driving more traffic to Twitch, which Twitch is gonna love. I can't talk too much smack about the 24/7 streams because that might be how I got my key, is leaving that up overnight. And you're right, you can mute it. I had it muted.
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
have to play it.
Yeah.
It certainly does kind of ruin the integrity. I will agree with that, because I feel like at first it was like some exclusive, really cool thing. And then it turned into just like, I don't know, a spam fest. You're right. Like, where's my key? What's going on? A bunch of people just lurking. So business wise, you have to think, okay, well, it's driving a lot of traffic to Twitch's website. A lot of people are probably watching ads. Yeah. But like, no one's really subscribing for that.
No.
At the same time, if you can put it in a tab and lurk, then you're on other streams, maybe watching them, subbing to them, donating bits to them. So business wise, it is a smart move. But yeah, from like a gamer's perspective, it does kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth. It wasn't like at first it was really fun and cool. And then after a while I was like, okay, that's, I don't know, old now. Let's do something else. I hope that that's the case. Mixed feelings about that. I do feel like it was really cool and interesting to do in this instance, because we've never seen it before. Yeah. But I agree. I don't want to see it again, because if this is like the future, if everyone starts doing this, it's gonna get old really fast.
Yeah. And also, one of the other things is, so the streamers who were streaming it anyway are not really bothered about the drops, already huge streamers. Their chat is just getting spammed out with people asking where the key is, how they get the key. It's actually not that clear either. Because I didn't know exactly. It just said you'll get a notification, which I did, but it was weird because it was after I stopped watching. But it happened. But people maybe if it was a bit clearer about what people had to do, and I understand that this is the first time that they've done it, but I just hope this isn't the future, because a lot of people are really annoyed. But I don't know, if it's brought new people to Twitch, I guess for people like us that's not a bad thing, because people will have had to make an account to join. Yeah. So there is that on the plus side, but if I was ever playing a game or asked to play a beta and I became part of that, I wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah. I will say you bring up a really good point about how there were big streamers who were partners who had their community, and they were getting like their community was getting spammed. Yeah. Right. And so, talking business wise, like obviously that's not good for the streamer. The streamer's going to be pretty pissed. I would be upset if my community, was like basically imploding because there were just constant, where's my key? And then from a business perspective on Twitch, of course that doesn't look good. Twitch is all about community as gamers and building communities in streaming channels. And so that's a good point. I didn't really think of that, but that can be really harmful.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Twitch streamer Alinity Divine was suspended from Twitch after fans complained about her nip slip during an April 24th broadcast. Now, this was completely accidental. I've seen the video, obviously, for research purposes, but it's basically like... but it's basically like... It's so brief, and it was obviously it was obviously a complete accident. Although I don't really know why she was changing her top under a top or whatever it was that she was trying to do. So Twitch banned her for 24 hours or something like that. She immediately deleted all the videos, all the VODs, but obviously she has a lot of fans anyway, so they were already captured that. But there's in the Twitch community, there's a lot of people complaining because, like, body painters, for instance, which is allowed, but they've been banned as well before, even for doing something that they are allowed to do. they've had lengthy bans, like months at a time, whereas she obviously got 24 hours, and yes, it was accidental, but then, and this isn't my point of view, I'm going by like the rules of Twitch. What they say is like it's simply not acceptable to happen, and you are responsible for any sort of nudity that happens on your stream, whether it's in the background, whether it's an accident or what. So the body painters are getting serious punishments for something that is still a real grey area, and she gets 24 hours, 24-hour ban, which I don't know.
Certainly unfair. And like, if I were a body painter, I think I'd be really upset by
pissed,
that. And this is happening right after Twitch has updated their TOS.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Verify things.
Which we covered in a previous podcast, by the way.
We did. Yes. So yeah, I'm curious. I'm kind of curious about how the trend of this is going to go, right? Because she's gotten a 24-hour ban after the TOS was updated. Does that mean they're going to be more lenient on body streamers, or are they continuing to be unfair? So it's kind of hard because like you want to compare it to the fact that body streamers have been banned for months, but clearly now they're trying to make a change and be more clear about this stuff. So I feel like either A, they are being a little more lenient and understanding accidents and understanding that like their rules were confusing, or B, they only gave her a 24-hour ban for unfair reasons, and now they kind of shot themselves in the foot because it's like, okay, well, now you've made this clear, so if you go and ban a body streamer after clarifying all this and giving her a 24-hour ban, if you ban a body streamer for months, like it's clear you have made no changes regarding that aspect. So I'm kind of curious to see where this goes and where this develops. I will say I do feel really bad for her. It was clearly an accident. Like you can see on her face, she was like, oh God.
Yeah.
She was like trying to stuff a pillow up her shirt.
Yeah, something like that.
Like something, I'm not sure what was going on.
You couldn't really tell from the clip. I couldn't tell what it was from the clip. Like what she was.
That she was like giving herself a belly or something. Cause like I saw her like stuff a pillow down her pants and then like she was going to put it
under a top as well.
Yeah, under her top. And, that brings up, aside from just Twitch, that brings up like a lot of conversation about the fact that like she's deleted it. Like she obviously wants it off the internet, but like it's still out there. You can still find it. And it kind of reminds me of, the fappening back in the day. Do you know what that is? The fappening?
The fappening?
Fappening.
The fappening?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know what that. Oh well.
But I'm sure you're gonna.
I must sound nuts. Then I will. Yes, I will let you know.
Please do enlighten me.
So the fappening was when a bunch of celebrities got their phones and electronic devices hacked, and then someone proceeded to leak pornographic images of these celebrities. Like maybe they were taking nudes, maybe like sex vids or whatever it was they wanted to take for their own personal use, for their own privacy, and it got leaked out there. And of course it was getting shared like crazy. It was just everywhere. Like you could find it everywhere at first. And then there was a lot of conversation about, well, if you're sharing this content when clearly they don't want it out there, like the ethics around that. And so it kind of feels like it's mimicking that, right? Like she's taking the VOD down. She doesn't want it out there. And then you still have people sharing it and the ethics around that. So it brings up a lot of interesting conversation about females on the internet. Which I'm kind of curious to see where this goes. It sounds like history is just repeating itself, to be honest. So
so as I read on though, apparently she's also had problems in the past. Apparently last summer a petition circulated to ban her over allegations of animal abuse against her pets, as she appeared to throw her cat during a stream. I've not seen a video for that.
I've seen the video.
So I don't know. How was it? Was it a bad throw?
I want to say yeah, honestly. So here's the thing. I understand the cats land on their feet and all that jazz. And maybe she wasn't trying to like really toss the kitty, but it was a good toss there. It was, so like the cat was here, and if I remember correctly, she kind of like went up under the cat, was like wee, and the cat like you know,
All right.
kind of went over the chair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, you know, it's not something I would do.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like something I would do either.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it, you know, if she was doing it all the time, and I don't know, this is the thing, then maybe, but I don't see how they can, because she knew. I'm not saying it's right, of course. I don't do that to my cat, but like, she knew the cat would be all right from that. Like, she knew there was probably like 99.9% chance of nothing happening to the cat, as they could jump on land from much higher heights. But, and I understand why. I understand why.
If I'm cracking up, there's a reason. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay. There's a reason, though, why they were annoyed. I understand. But I feel like PETA are... So they are like the activist group for the protection of animals. This is the kind of movement you're talking about. They're the kind of people who complain about fishing in a video game. Like fishing is in pretty much the history of every culture on this planet. Like in some form. In some form, it's there. And it is what it is. And they were
game fishing.
Yeah, and it's game.
I feel like there needs to be a distinction there.
And it's not actually catching fish either.
Yeah. Like, I don't go out shooting people, and yet...
No.
Like, I'm playing Sekiro. I've yet to samurai sword someone in the face in real life.
Yeah.
It just hasn't happened, so...
But you love doing it in the game.
I really do, yes. But I'm not going to do it in real life because
maybe that's stopping you. Maybe playing the game is stopping you doing it in real life.
Yeah. Maybe we should fish in the game. I don't know.
All Nicole's blades are just out of sight, by the way. all the samurai swords.
They are. I hope you can't hear the blood drips.
Her and Snack Daddy run around in their dressing gowns, wielding them at each other. Yeah, so like Invader V last week, I actually went onto one of her streams, and she doesn't seem as bad as like Invader V, but she's definitely playing to what seems to be like a majority male audience.
Mm-hmm.
She's not. Well, I haven't seen her begging for subs or anything like that. I mean, she's and she does. You know, she plays her games, seems to enjoy it. It just seems like there's almost, not to try and stereotype any of these streamers, but it seems to be these same kinds of streamers that keep getting in trouble. And it seems like the big ones are getting off very lightly, and some of the smaller ones are getting harder punishments or even hit harder, even in the media. Is that just because, like, the biggest ones, you know, a lot of them are like, they're hot girls. They are hot. They're hot, or women, sorry, but and they have such a big following. They're making Twitch, Amazon, they're making them a lot of money. Yeah. You know, such a lot of money that it makes me think. That's why I thought 24 hours. Like, nobody would even miss that. You know, she's not even going to miss any revenue, really. She might not. I don't know if she'd even streamed on that day. Maybe she doesn't stream every day. I don't know. But like the body painters have come off with like month bans at a time. Mm-hmm. Even though it's supposed to be okay because it's for art. Yeah. But if you don't know what the body painting is, basically they either have their body painted, so they'll have their breasts on show, but they're painted, right? That's how it works. Mm-hmm. And they're already covered. They don't start off topless and then start painting themselves. Or they wear really super tight clothing and paint over the top of that.
Yeah, and I think pasties are allowed as well.
Yes,
The
yes,
pasties and paint over that.
yes, yes, yeah. But as we spoke about on the previous podcast, there's no real black and white line with that, or
Yeah.
it doesn't seem that that's where it's said art is fine, but who knows?
Well, so interestingly enough, I was in an art stream yesterday. Asher East. That's the streamer I was watching. Asher East.
Asher East.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. No, it was Monday. It was Monday. I was in her art stream on Monday, and she was doing like a figure drawing and breaking down the structure and anatomy of the torso. So when you draw the torso, you can break it down into different shapes, and obviously she was using nude reference. Now, she
of
got
course.
banned for using nude reference. So she had to like put the nude photos that she was using in Discord. She couldn't show them on stream. So you'd see her drawing on stream, but if you wanted to see what she was drawing from and follow along, you had to go to Discord.
Yeah.
So it's clear that their stance on artistic nudity is, in my opinion, I disagree fully, outright.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
100% with the stance that they've taken on artistic nudity. I just do.
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I guess the problem that they'd have is, so I follow this tattoo artist on Instagram who posts basically incredibly sexual, and tattoos, incredibly sexual designs.
I bet I know who it is, actually. I think I follow them too.
Now, like, some people would argue, because maybe that is the kind of, some of it you might see, this is the kind of stuff you might see in porn.
Yeah.
But then who's to say?
Yeah.
Because, like, he's got like women sucking each other's toes.
Yeah.
And like all sorts of stuff, like more classic sexual stuff, less classic sexual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wondered, like, I guess, because as I was trying to think about this and what Twitch's stance would be and where they come from, I guess it could get to the point where people are drawing stuff that's sexual, and their motives are not art driven, I guess. And then how do they police that, I suppose? But certainly, I'm guessing, and I've just got up the stream that you were talking about, and I've seen what she is drawing, and I mean, there's pretty much, like, you couldn't argue that wasn't for an artistic reference. Like, it'd be very difficult to argue that it wasn't. So it is interesting, and it will be interesting to see whether they make any more changes to their TOS update. But I certainly think it's still a massive grey area.
It is. And the thing is, I mean, well, I fully agree that finding that line, especially with art, like, it can be hard, because obviously, like, there's hentai. That's a pretty clear, like, okay, well, we're not going to do hentai, but like artistic community for the purpose of learning and education is different. And finding that line is hard, but I think that's the problem they're having already. Finding that line with body painting is hard. Finding that line with, titty streamers is hard. I think making that line, that's something they need to do regardless. They're going to have to draw the line somewhere. And I think their line is kind of like drawn all squiggly, right? It's like, okay, body streamers, titty streamers, cool. Artistic reference for educational purposes, no, we're going to put it on this side. So I feel like the line's going to be made regardless. But I feel like artistic nudity has ended up on the wrong side of the field. And I totally get, like, banning hentai, banning, like, anything that's overtly sexual. And I understand that. And I feel like they can make that clear. And their reasoning, and I know I've talked about this before, their reasoning for not allowing artistic nudity is that they don't have anything to filter that.
Yes,
which,
yeah.
A, you can add a tag, you can add a filter. Like, that's not impossible to work around. And B, well, if you can't filter that, then some of the other stuff you're allowing, like, that's a mixed signal, right there, because there's definitely some stuff that you wouldn't want like a kid to stumble upon that's still out there. And I mean, technically you can put 18 plus. I think anybody above the age of 18 should be perfectly fine seeing nude artistic reference.
Yeah, of course.
So,
I guess what they could do, because obviously you need to be 13, right, to be using a Twitch account. If you are under 18 or 16 or whatever, that you need to be you still should be supervised by an adult. So there is supposed to be an adult present. Now, I would guarantee that's not the case in 95% of cases of 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
But that's Twitch's way around of saying, no, this is your responsibility. But maybe if people are worried about that, then the way to go would be, right, well, if you want your child to watch Twitch, but only anything that's not tagged for mature audiences, then you can prove to us by whatever, find a way of proving their age, whatever it may be. We're not going to charge you money, but and that you consent for them to watch everything. I don't know. I guess that would be the only way.
Yeah.
Around it to stop that. But then I think if the 13 or 14-year-old kids got access to the internet, I mean, what?
I mean, yeah, there's nothing you like when you go to Pornhub and it's like, are you 18 or older? It's like, yes, right? Like there's no way to prevent a child from accessing whatever they want to access if the parent's not controlling their media consumption. So that's not really up to Twitch. And I think, there are ways to help a kid find the right content or help parents find the right content. Like maybe like kid-friendly tag could be added, and not safe for work tag could be added. Like I feel like there are ways to help, but regardless, a kid's going to access what a kid wants unless the parent has put some sort of parental control.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no way around that. Twitch can't be someone's mom or dad. A streamer can't be someone's mom or dad, because I know people have gotten in trouble before from like someone in chat will be like, well, you're cursing and so is underage. And it's like, well, I'm labeled 18 plus and I'm not a parent. So there's only so much I can do. But I do think there are ways they can make it a little more friendly for streamers and for kids.
Yeah, it's funny because like I was like 12, 13 when like the internet porn revolution became a thing. Obviously the kids now are spoiled with Pornhub, because in my day it was like it wasn't even videos, it was pictures that would take 25 seconds to load one picture, like bit by bit by bit. Like it's always been the case that it was accessible.
Yeah.
And actually I think the biggest danger with all of that, and it wasn't such a thing, I don't think, when I was a teenager. Like the only stuff that we probably watched that we shouldn't have been watching was when you got the peer-to-peer sharing programs that you could share videos and stuff on. And we were finding, I can remember being at a friend's house and one of the friends was like, look at this, I downloaded a video of some guy cutting another guy's head off. And I was like, geez, that's real. Like, and we were like 14, 15.
Yeah.
People, young people of that age that don't properly understand people's kinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Could be a big problem. But I wouldn't, if Twitch is Twitch is super worried about it, but they are not taking steps to make sure that the young audience aren't watching that. So if they're so concerned, then why aren't they putting in preventative measures, or really really making sure that the onus is on the parent to make sure they are what they're doing? Because at the minute, just saying that, oh yeah, sign up, I don't like. The kid can sign up and just say, yeah, do you have permission from... You've got to be 13, because that's what they say, and it's the same for Facebook, so that they say that if you're 13, you're old enough to know what you're doing in terms of signing something and reading terms and conditions. But obviously, they'll just sign up and say, yeah, of course I'm 13. They might not even be 13. Of course I'm 13. Of course I'm 18.
Well, I can tell you at the age of 30... me reading terms and conditions, like I don't understand how a 13-year-old could be trusted.
No.
Terms and conditions.
No.
And also, people lie about their age. I actually remember I had troubles getting into my Neopets account because back in the day, you had to be 13 and I wasn't 13. So I lied about my birth date. And then I lost my account information. I was like, oh, I need it. And they were like, well, what birth date did you put? And I was like, well,
Every
like,
time.
you can put whatever you want there. Who's going to know?
Every time there was a knock at Nick's door, she thought the FBI were coming to break her in for putting the wrong date on her Neopets account.
I'm still salty about it. I had a fairy Psy Bunny, and I'll never get that back. So, played a lot of Neopets in school.
You be telling me you're on Club Penguin next as well.
I missed the Club Penguin, but honestly, if I was young enough for it, yeah, I would have been on Club Penguin for sure.
Yeah. See, obviously, I'm definitely not young enough for Club Penguin, so I didn't have Club Penguin. But I was there. I was there at the start of the Napster revolution.
Yeah.
And that's
Napster changed a lot of things.
It did. It changed so much. But what's interesting about all that is now is like it's all shifted again through streaming, like music through streaming. They seem to have gotten a hold on the film industry more because they've done the right thing by making renting movies or watching movies cheaper. So you can just rent them now. Because unless you really, really like it, and you can still own it if you want to, or you can rent it for like $3. And nobody's going to mess around if they're like, right, we're going to watch this film tonight. Should we watch this? No, let me find a site that's got a decent copy in a decent, a decent quality and spend half an hour doing that. Or are they just going to pay the $3? Yeah. But that was the same problem with the music industry though. When I was a teenager, it was like, right, I was buying CDs at like 11, 12. And like an album was like, when it was new, it would be, if I got it from the cheapest place, £12. So at the time, like $15, $16. Yeah. Like I was like 12. I didn't have a job. Like, so as soon as I was able to download songs, I was like, well, I'm going to download songs. And they weren't even really missing out on any money because I couldn't afford to buy all those anyway. Yeah. And the few that I did want, that I was a real big fan of, I did buy anyway. But like, if they'd been like a quarter of the price and all the money wasn't going to the recording company, the like Warner Brothers and other such greedy producers, then maybe people wouldn't have even thought about like going and through the hassle of downloading it. Yeah. What you say about terms and conditions, I think Twitch is probably one of the few terms and conditions that I've actually read through because I'm streaming. Agreed. Yeah. And it's a little bit easier to understand, I feel like, than they do make it pretty plain. Yeah. There are some that like have like pages and pages and pages of legalese, and you're like, I could be selling my soul. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's weird that you made this so complicated. Yeah. But on the things that they make clear, it's fine. And there's not that much to read through. I don't know. I can't remember about just signing up for an account, but just to watch. But when you look through the streamer's terms and conditions, because obviously you need to know because you are using it as a source of income. So it's like, it's important. But who even looks at terms and conditions when they're getting a credit card? I would say 99% of people don't. Yeah. No, you scan for like the important parts. Yeah, like of course. APR and stuff, APR's this. Yes, that's fine. If I don't pay, then you're going to take my house away. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I know all that already. Oh, the rest of it. Oh, I'm not bothered about that. Oh, I didn't. Why is my APR gone up like by 10%? Why are you taking my dog? Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what the future looks like with regards to censorship because I don't know, like, because I don't have kids. But like, I do remember in the early days of the internet, we had things like Net Nanny and other things that were like filters, basically, that filtered out all the bad stuff or stuff that the kids shouldn't be seeing. I guess we had that at school, something like that. So I know that now, I'm pretty sure that that comes directly from your ISP now. So most of the time it comes switched on. Because I remember trying to I've got two internets now, and I remember trying to watch something. It was really like, I was shocked, but the ISP had blocked it, and I was like, why is it blocked? I had two internets anyway, so it's not like it's really important. I had to ring up and they were like, oh, because the filter's on. I was like, well, can you take it off? I'm like 30 years old. And they were like, yeah. And I'm thinking, that woman on the phone thinks I'm a liar. She thinks that I'm trying to look at filth. And I'm trying to look at something really innocent, and you've blocked it because you think it's offensive. It was something, I can't even remember what it was, but so I don't know, like, but obviously we know about VPNs. Yeah. And I was really switched on with technology when I was 12, 13 because I had nothing else to do. That's what I was interested in. I knew more about the physical components of a computer and probably the digital infrastructure probably a lot more than I do now. Because that's all I didn't have time to do. Like, I had so much time on my hands, I just read about it. So I guess they are finding ways around whatever. So I think, like, as far as parents are concerned, Twitch is probably the last of their worries, really. In terms of what you can find on there.
Well, we're in an interesting dichotomy where parents have more tools than ever to monitor their children, but children are more in tune to tech than ever. So you're right. Like, there's ways around it. So, I mean, but I still think the onus is on the parents. Like, I still think that's the parents' job. Because nobody else can do that. But yeah, it is hard because kids are tech savvy. They're gonna get around it. I think good parenting maybe is what we have to fall back on. I don't know. It's a difficult situation. I don't feel like there's a really good solution, but I also don't feel like it's a streamer's or Twitch's job to prevent content that honestly is innocent, like artistic nudity.
Yeah, exactly.
So, especially when they allow other types of content, which I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I do think that if you're allowing other types of content that are very borderline, artistic nudity for educational purposes is kind of a strange thing to say no to. If that's where you draw the line, it's a weird place to draw that. So
yeah, I might do some research and find out if, you know, Amazon taking over Twitch has anything to you know, close those boundaries a little bit because of the name of Amazon. I don't know whether that's a factor. Because obviously Amazon's a household name and they provide groceries to families and they provide pretty much everything to families. So and you don't find a lot of the stuff that you can get on Wish or Alibaba or whatever on on Amazon. So I don't know if that's part of it, but I will talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah.
So that's it for the news this week. So Nick, what is our main feature topic this week?
I'm actually really excited about this topic. I have put a lot of love and heart into this topic, and I feel like this could best be summarized as, what do streamers need to think about that they aren't thinking about? Seriously, that's how I would summarize this, as something that is so key and vital and important that, like, I'd say, like, I don't know, 80% of streamers don't even consider or think about. And that is context and providing an experience. So as streamers, I mean, ultimately we're entertainers, and we are there to provide a very specific type of entertainment and a very specific type of experience. So when someone comes into my stream, whether they're coming in on a Tuesday or on a Thursday, or they're coming in, you know, Friday when I stream during the days versus like Tuesday or Thursday when I stream at night, I mean, or a surprise stream, I mean, whatever, you want them to have a consistent experience. You want it to feel similar. You want to have the same energy. You know, you don't, like, if someone came into my channel and I wasn't hype and I was kind of down, and like, if I wasn't talking, if somebody came into my channel and I wasn't talking, they'd be like, something's off. This is wrong. This is not the experience that I'm used to. Just like if you went to McDonald's and somebody was like, well, what table do you want? And they brought you menus and sat you down at a table, you'd be like,
I'd love it.
I'm uncomfortable and I need it because it's just not what you've come to expect. And I think we need to think of ourselves as businesses. And I actually think restaurants are a great comparison because, you know, it mirrors so much of that. For one, you're providing an experience. So McDonald's obviously has the experience of it's quick, it's easy, in and out. You know, they have the happy, bright, yellow, smiley logo and stuff. Like, you know what to expect and you know kind of what to feel when going there. The greasy food, not so fun. But regardless, you go because it's quick and easy.
Fun for 20 minutes.
Fun for 20 minutes. And then you're like, oh.
And now I'm hungry. I'm hungry again and I feel ill.
Yeah. Bad life choices. But then you have like Italian restaurants, like an upscale Italian restaurant. Think about the experience that you're going to get. You're expecting a very specific experience. And if you went there and everything was trash, you'd be like, this was not the $60 plate that I paid for. So we have these expectations of specific experiences and we go to specific places for specific experiences. If I want to be wined and dined, I'm not going to go to McDonald's. So I have my preferences on what I like overall, what I prefer, you know, then I have my preferences of at the moment I want McDonald's, even though I usually prefer Italian. So we're looking for all these experiences as people. And then you also are going for the way it makes you feel, the way an experience makes you feel. So when I go to an Italian restaurant, I'm dressed up, I've done my hair, I've done my makeup, I feel very different from when I go to McDonald's. And that's a lot of like when
in your pajamas.
Exactly. Well, yeah, definitely my pajamas. Good if I wear shoes, but you know, it's just a bonus. But yeah, we feel specific things. Like, let's say we donate to our favorite charity. We feel good. We feel altruistic. We feel like a great person, you know, or if I don't know, if we litter, don't litter. I'm big on not littering. But if you litter, you're going to probably feel bad, or you should. And if you don't,
should feel bad.
Look in the mirror and really give yourself a talk. But yeah, we look for specific feelings that are associated with these experiences.
Absolutely.
And I feel like a lot of streamers aren't focusing on what sort of experience they're giving someone. And, you know, experience is not just like, there's so much context around it. So like when you go into a bar and it's like smoky and there's jazz music, you know, you're getting this overall experience, but there's context around it, the music, the colors that they have, you know, the drinks that they're serving, the price of the drink. That's all the context. To give you the experience.
Yeah, so I guess a good example of that would be is you're not going to walk into a jazz club, or you wouldn't expect to. I've never actually been to a jazz club. You wouldn't expect to walk into a jazz club and have loads of like high-powered fluorescent lighting everywhere.
Yeah.
The colors to be really, really bright and vibrant. Like, that's not what you'd expect.
Exactly. That is a weird context. And now you have a disconnect. You're like, this isn't the experience I was looking for. This is a really weird jazz club. I don't even know if it's a jazz club. I don't know where the hell I am. I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to leave. Yeah. So, you know, you want to have a cohesive experience and you want to have the right context. And this applies so much to streamers. And I feel like a lot of people just don't think about it. And when I talk about context as streamers, I'm talking about what colors have you chosen? You know, what kind of vibe do you have? Are you super hype when people come in? Are you kind of chill and relaxed? Are you really positive? Are you maybe kind of like someone who flames a lot of people and really salty? All of those matter. And there are studies that show how much some of this stuff matters. There are tons of studies that show the influence of color and how it impacts us. And you know, it's a bit interesting because at that point it does get cultural, right? So like,
yeah, of course.
Red for me will have different cultural differences maybe than, you know, someone across the globe. But regardless, we all kind of have these ideas about specific colors, especially culturally. You
Absolutely.
know?
Yes.
So you have to think about what colors you're going to choose. Like I chose yellow for my channel. That is good context for my channel because I like to be bright and happy and fun. You know, and I'm silly and I'm, you know, not everything I talk about is positive, but the overall vibe is positive.
Yeah.
And so yellow fit me. It just
Yeah.
fit my channel really well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people like they just choose colors, or maybe they don't even choose colors. Maybe they aren't even thinking about that.
They
And
just pick any color, or they just happen upon the color in the palette and go, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, imagine if you came into my channel and I'm over the top and I talk a lot. I don't shut up. And you come in and I have like, I don't know, dark blue.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't provide the same
No.
experience.
No.
It just wouldn't. And you'd feel a disconnect and it'd be a little confusing. So your context can strengthen what you have going on, or it can detract and maybe confuse and turn people off.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time picking Jotendo Pink,
Mm-hmm.
but not really thinking enough about why. I picked it for the right reasons, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't actually thinking about it, but obviously, I did think about it afterwards, and I was like, and people like it.
Yeah.
But it's like the pink is like traditionally, it's not a masculine color. Obviously, nobody cares about that anymore, but those are stereotypes, and whether we like it or not, people think them, even though they tend to know now that it's not necessarily right. People still have those thoughts because we're human beings. But then I'm like, I've got stubble, I've covered in tattoos, which is again traditionally more of a masculine thing. So I think that shows my sort of, I don't actually take myself very seriously, and I like to joke with people. And it was something that I hadn't really thought about, but I did put time into picking that color, and making sure that that's what, because I haven't seen a single other male streamer that uses pink.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure that there are.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen one.
Yeah.
By the same token, if I went into say a female streamer's stream and she was streaming Stardew Valley or The Sims or something like that, or Animal Crossing, you'd expect sort of soft lines and softer colors, more feminine colors. But then again, which I'm sure you're going to talk to us more about, it would depend on, are you that female streamer who's targeting the younger female audience who does want the more cutesy sort of soft approach, or is it a bit of a more mature, and you're going to have more men in there, so yes, you're going to be using feminine colors, but maybe with a bit of a hardened edge. So I guess you do come to expect these sort of things, and it doesn't mean you have to necessarily everyone adopts the same colors, but it's not just about your sex, it's about what you're playing and what your channel's about, which is what you were saying, Nick.
Yeah, and I think pink fits you really well. Pink has a lot of like it has calming feelings. It shows that you're not super traditionalist. You don't take yourself very seriously. It's a nurturing color, which I think is really good, because I know your channel, like, you don't cuss, like it is family friendly.
Yeah.
For the most part, I would consider it family friendly.
PG-13.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it fits you really well, you know?
Yeah.
And I do think there's considering what fits you, and then there's considering your audience as well. So like there's two sides of the coin. There's two things to consider. So, and when you're first starting out streaming, you're not going to have an audience, but you have to have an idea of who you want to appeal to in mind, right?
Yes.
Let's say I was a female streamer and I wanted to appeal to mostly males. I wanted to play up kind of that feminine vibe and energy, you know.
Tits out.
You would that too. You would choose, that's part of the context though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So you'd choose different colors. You'd maybe alter your voice, right? Like maybe a little softer, a little sweeter. Like there's so many things
definitely.
That you would.
She's done that before. Did you hear that? She's done that. She's done that before. Do you know what that is? You should read some. I implore you all to read some social influence psychology. She's used that before for sure to influence people. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the interesting thing. Everything we're talking about, it's psychology and it's influence.
Yeah, it does work.
All of it.
You're absolutely right.
And it works.
Right.
It works on me too. Like when I see a tech company with the color blue, I'm like, they're innovative, because it reminds me of like, Dell, or like, I don't know, best, like so many tech companies at this point.
Intel,
I think. Yeah. Like so many tech companies use blue.
Yeah.
So like all of this stuff, it's a cultural thing, and maybe not even a cultural thing. It sounds like over, across the world, like Intel's across the world, right?
Yeah. Of course.
So, these colors we've tend to associate with specific traits. So you want to think about your audience, like, okay, well, who am I trying to reach out to? What experience do I want to provide them? Yeah. And then think, okay, well, what would match that? But also think about your strengths. Think about you, because for me, I chose yellow because I am kind of bright and over the top. If I chose a more soft color, I mean, I'm not a soft person. I'm loud and I like to talk. So it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act between what's true to you. Because if you try so hard to appeal to an audience and completely throw out who you are as a person, that disconnect is going to show up. Just like McDonald's giving someone a menu and giving them a seat, it's not right, because that's not who McDonald's is. That's not what they do. Right. So it is a balancing act between what you want to provide, who you want to provide that for, the experience, but then what are your strengths? What are you good at? Because you don't want to, if you're a circle, you don't want to fit yourself into a square.
Absolutely. You know, I haven't been into McDonald's for years, but the next time I go in, I'm going to see the guy or the girl like clearing up the tables, and in my head, I'm going to dress them in like a tux, and they'll have like one of those folded sheets over their arm, and I'll be waiting at the door like, when am I going to get taken to my seat? And that's
Please
all
wait
your
at the
fault.
door, because I want to know how they handle that. Just like wait at the door and like look around, like, is nobody helping me? I feel like they're gonna ignore you, to be honest, but I'm curious.
I'll stand by the bin like it's or the trash can, as you'd say. I'll stand by the trash and like pretend that's like the pedestal where they cross you off the list, like where all the reservations are.
Yeah. I'm curious how long you can stand there before someone comes up to you, and I don't think they're gonna try to seat you. I think they'll be like, you're really scaring the children.
Well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that kids just are like youths. I'm going to say youth. I'm going to sound old and say youths. Youths just go in there to like use the Wi-Fi anyway, right? And like one of them buys a McFlurry, while like the rest
are good.
Yeah, well, that. Funnily enough, that was all I had the last time that I went.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like they just go in anyway just to use the Wi-Fi.
I have very few things I show up to McDonald's for, but McFlurries would be one of them. It's on the list.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everyone has something they do well, and that's again with streaming. Like everyone has stuff that they do well. You wouldn't show up to McDonald's for a steak. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't show up to my channel for ASMR. Because it would hurt your ears. I'd be loud. Like someone would come in, I'd be talking all quietly and like whispering, and someone would come in and be like, "Hey, how are you?" And everyone would be like, "My ears are bleeding."
Yeah,
and that's a liability.
You wouldn't come to my channel if you couldn't take honest feedback on your terrible levels.
Exactly. Like there's specific things that you come to specific people's channels for, and sometimes like, as a viewer, maybe I want a specific experience, and I'm like, oh, Joe's going to provide that. I'm going to go to Joe's channel. Or sometimes, like, if I want an art stream, I'm probably not going to come to your channel.
Yeah.
Although you do really beautiful, like post-level drawings. I will say that.
I'm gonna put a clip of one of my special drawings over this part.
Please do.
You can see how insulting Nick's being now.
I'm sorry. I take it back. Joe for everything.
No, yeah, I'm the same, like, because I normally watch in morning UK time, and sometimes I'll still be tired, it'll be something that I just want to watch on or just chill to. And there's Orature, who's a Mario Maker streamer from Texas, and he stays up really late stateside, and he barely says anything, but his skills are just unreal. And he's just really, really chilled and calm. But
Yeah.
then sometimes I might want to get more involved or feel like I've got a bit of spare time. I'm still doing bits of work and I can add to
Yeah.
the chat. So I'll go for something a bit more upbeat or something that's perhaps going to make me laugh. Or
Mhm.
yeah, it is definitely important. And to be fair, the streamers I follow them for a reason. So
Yeah.
all of those streamers that I follow that I choose from are different in their own ways, but they're pretty much consistently like that. Whatever they're doing, and their viewers are consistent with how they are in their streams.
For sure. They have like their own is it niche? I can never tell
niche.
if I'm pronouncing it right. Niche. They have their own niche. You know what you're getting. And that's why when streamers say like I want to appeal to everyone, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it, because then you're appealing to no one. So like find your niche, figure out what experience you want to give. Some people are not going to want that experience. That's okay. No. You're going to get more people than if you were trying to provide an experience for everyone. So figure out that experience. And it's not just your panels or your colors. It's everything. It's your overlays. It's, you know, the way you talk and the words you use. So there's an interesting study where people were smelling cheddar cheese, and the scientists would say, okay, you're going to smell cheddar cheese. And they smelled it and it smelled like cheddar cheese. Everything was good. They enjoyed it. And then the scientists said, okay, this is going to be body odor. They smelled the same cheddar cheese, but their perceptions of it were worse. Literally, it's the same thing they're smelling, but the words used to describe that thing is worse. And you will literally see this. I will see this on cooking competition shows, and I'm like, I know what you're doing, because they'll be like, what you have here is a delectable, juicy so-and-so. And I'm like, ugh. And the judges will call them out for it, kind of like, oh yeah, is that what that is? Because they're trying to influence other people through the words that they hear. And it does work. It works. So context is everything, down to the music you play, down to the words you use.
Yeah, like this, like the psychology is massive. Like if you ever picked up something that you were eating, or you were eating and not really paying attention, and you picked up something that is edible, but you thought it was something else, or you thought it was a different flavor, and then you put it in your mouth and it doesn't even seem like either of the flavors, because you thought it was something else. So, but it doesn't. Oh no, that's not a prawn cocktail crisp. That's a chicken crisp.
Yeah,
but it doesn't even taste like the chicken or prawn cocktail, because your head is like, whoa, hang on a minute, that was supposed to be this, and now it's this. So psychology is so important.
It really is. And I really do recommend, like, there are so many good books on the psychology of just us as humans, what influence us. And I'll like send some links. I haven't read a lot of these books, but I know of, and they are on my to read list, and I'll send them. So if anybody has some time and wants to read them, and there's a lot of studies you can see online as well. But psychology is so important. And I feel like it's something that us streamers aren't taking advantage of when every other business in the world is. Absolutely. Every business is.
Yep.
McDonald's is taking advantage of that. The ads that they choose to run, of like, you'll see so many ads, like, what was it? Like, there's a chocolate commercial where they're like, oh yes, oh, the chocolate's so good. And they're obviously like, they're really into that chocolate. They're smiling. And then like when you see, like, I don't know, like McDonald's has like family and people coming together. Like Coca-Cola does that a lot, of like, Coke Smile or whatever.
Holidays are coming.
Exactly.
The family waiting for the Coca-Cola truck. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, what does my family have to do with Coke? Nothing. But they're trying to say that if you drink Coke, this is the experience we're going to give you. And I've yet to drink Coke and had a family Christmas where nobody argued with each other. But Coke is still
don't exist
out like crazy. Like people love Coke. It's amazing how much money Coke makes. And so they're promising this experience. You're seeing these visuals and you're like, in our mind, we're like, I want that. And do we think we're going to get that? I mean, no, not necessarily. And you see it a lot with new products too. Like, oh, this product is cool. If you have this product, you're like, cool, you're the new verge of tech and this and that. And so we buy it because it's a fad product. So we don't take advantage of that. Yeah.
And it's on Coke, I feel like as well, they're still making billions. Mm-hmm. Like, it's ridiculous how much money they are making off a single drink. Obviously, that they are the Coca-Cola company, But even in times where it has never been more prevalent, like the damage that sugar is doing, especially to kids, they are still the number one soft drink in the world, and they are still making a shed load of money, despite of no matter how many celebrity chefs, what the World Health Organization says, what the government says, what the recommended daily amount of sugar intake is, which is massive over here now. I assume it's a big thing in the States as well.
Yeah.
But despite the fact that they mark it up, we have a marking system in the UK for like all different bits, like fat, saturated fat, sugar, and salt and stuff like that. And you look at the Coke on the side, and sugar's like red, like through the roof. Like, if you don't want to go off your daily amount of sugar, then just don't drink this at all, because like 3 sips and it's going to be like, but obviously, their marketing overcomes that.
Yeah, it really does. And, you know, when you think about the commercials, like, okay, one of the big commercials was like Santa, and he's like smiling. There's that Christmas atmosphere, and he's sitting back and he drinks a Coke, right? So think about if you had to replace Coke with, I don't know, Pepsi. He is same exact commercial, but he opens a can of Pepsi. Not much changes other than, you know, now you're kind of want a Pepsi, right? But if you keep the same soda and you replace the context, it's not warm and cozy anymore. He's not smiling. You have a completely different feeling. Yeah. And that's what context provides for us. It's so important. It changes the way we're perceiving a product. Like, let's say, I don't know, it was some guy breakdancing and he was really cool or something, like back in the 90s. Like, you know, instead of thinking like, oh yeah, family and warmness and coziness, you'd be like, I'm hip if I drink Coke. Like, it provides very different and specific feelings. You know? And
it's all fantastic stuff to look at and research, because you can translate this all directly to your stream and your brand. Because as Nick will agree, there's like half the work is the stream and half the work is outside of the stream. Like time wise, definitely. But actually, in terms of what the hard work is more outside the stream.
It is, yeah.
Because the streaming's the easy part, actually.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, and the rest is like the work, the having to work hard. Yeah.
The rest is hunched over the computer like a little, like, I don't know, night goblin, and you've got like the fluorescent light beaming right into your eyes, and you're just like, this isn't working, and I don't know why. So like the rest is really the difficult part. But yeah, I mean, even like, so I mean, yeah, like what I said about every single big company, I challenge you guys to find one big company who's like making billions of dollars who's not focusing on this psychology in their marketing.
Yeah,
you can't do it. You can't. Won't. And even like within colors, so like when you think of, and I wrote this for the I guess, I don't know if it's an ebook, I don't know if it's a guide. Like it was just supposed to be a little worksheet, and it's turned into more. But I am writing something that we will release at some point that is kind of like a guide that'll really in depth walk you through a lot of this stuff. Yeah. But like I wrote about red, and it's like, imagine a bright, vibrant crimson red. Feel the energy. Imagine a tattered, defiant battle flag with shouts and screams and clashing and clinking of metal swords and shields in the background. And like you think about that, and you imagine a very specific red versus imagine a sweet, deep wine-colored red. Imagine the scent of dark, sweet cherries and the taste of a delicious sangria, the smell and haze of a smoky bar filled with soft jazz music, the cool, relaxed atmosphere, and the charged buzzing and whisper of the patrons. Those are so different.
Very different.
But they are both red. Like this stuff gets down into the nitty gritty. And I'm not saying as streamers we have to go that deep with it, but you have to be aware of it. You have to understand it at least a little bit to a degree. You have to put consideration into it, or else you're leaving everything up to chance. And that doesn't always work out.
Yeah, it's interesting as well about the color red, because as you said that, what sprung into my mind was red's on a lot of countries' flags, but I don't think it's very easy to forget the Japanese flag, for instance. Yeah. Because it has a huge red dot. Like you cannot miss that. nobody ever goes, oh, what's that flag? What country does that belong to? You never.
Yeah.
China's is a massive red flag, pretty much. It's just covered with a few other bits, but it's just a massive red flag. Like you don't forget those flags because of the red. Like they are just it's so thought provoking and memorable.
Yeah.
But different stuff applies to different colors, as you say.
Yeah. ASMR streamer choosing red would be a little bit.
Yeah. They're gonna shout. They're gonna shout at me.
Color.
Yeah. They're gonna shout down the microphone.
They're like whispering, but they're whispering like, "I'm gonna kill you and steal your vlog," and you're like,
they're gonna pretend to stamp on me, and and I'm gonna like it. Oh no, wait, that's a personal thing. I'm just kidding. By the way, I don't like being stamped on ever. But yeah, yeah. Whereas if you got like some really sort of soft, sort of cool blues, and like you're gonna be expecting something different, something more chill, something, and like you say, there's just so many different ways you can go. You just need to know exactly which way you are going.
Yeah, definitely. And before anyone says because I was thinking about it. So my channel colors are yellow. Yes, I don't use yellow lights behind me. When I put the yellow on, it's a lot. It's a lot. So you don't want to smack people in the face with this stuff. It still needs to read subtle. You don't want to force the experience on them. You want them to feel the experience. If you try to force the experience down their throat, they're gonna leave.
Yeah.
So it needs to be done subtly. It needs to be done with some thought. And I just think this will really elevate pretty much any streamer's game. Honestly, even some of the big streamers are not doing as much as this as they could be doing.
No.
So if you're a smaller streamer, like doing this will really help put you ahead of a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that a lot of those big streamers who aren't doing this stuff or thinking about it very much dropped on to Twitch at the right time.
Yeah.
Because I think not having a brand now, it would be incredibly difficult to gain any kind of following without a brand now, compared to what it was 4 years ago.
Absolutely. And a lot of these people now have other people doing this work for them, other people doing the branding. So they started with no brand, but they came in at the right time to grow. And then over time, they developed a brand. So it came later.
Yeah.
But with how many people are streaming now, you kind of have to have it from the get-go. You can't hope to get big and then you develop all of this stuff. You have to consider it. I'd say before you even start your channel, like figure, and like I said, we're going to release this guide, but there's so much you need to figure out. It's not that you need to, but if you don't, you're really shooting yourself in the foot and you're going to be at a disadvantage. The people who consider all this stuff and really plan this stuff out are going to elevate themselves and put themselves way ahead of the people who didn't. Yeah. And even if you already have a stream and you haven't done this stuff yet, it's not too late. Because the thing is, you can never go below 0 viewers. So let's say you have like 10 viewers and you're like, I'm not getting a whole lot, but I want more. And you do all this branding. You can only go up from there,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's never too late. It's never too late to do the branding. But if you are going to start a stream, I would argue that you should do it before you actually start the stream. Because context, the name's included in that. We're talking a lot about colors and volumes and tone of voice and speech choice. Names included in all of that.
Yeah, I've looked through a couple of Reddit posts where the streamers that have been, and this was recently I looked through, streamers that have been streaming for like a year or 18 months, and they say that they never have more than 1 or 2 viewers, and like, asking people what should they do, and obviously people come up with all different sorts of stuff. But if you go and take a look at the channel, it's usually completely nondescript. It's like, what does this channel say to me about the streamer?
Yeah. Not
really anything. And then going back to what we discussed before about stuff like generic panels, like that you get, and all that changes is the color. There's nothing personal about it whatsoever. There's nothing. There's no brand in there at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that if you don't have much time or money, and when you're first starting out, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. You should have them over not having them, but but just if somebody happens upon your stream and you're streaming the same game as another streamer, and you've got the same amount of viewers, and you're at the same point in the game, but they've got a specific branding, it seems to fit their personality.
Yeah.
Whether they do it subconsciously or not, they're gonna go for that streamer. They are gonna slide for that streamer. And I disagree with. I've heard people say that they don't think it matters too much. I absolutely disagree with that, because there are a couple that said, "Oh well, you don't need to spend too much time." And some of those streamers that I met saying that a year ago haven't taken off or experienced any sort of growth, and I'm thinking, well, I wasn't particularly happy with all my branding at first, but I've changed quite a bit, but I always worked on it, and it was always something that I knew was important.
And it's an evolution too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes. Mine's still not perfect. Mine's like you kind of discover it as you go. Like, oh, well, this would fit a little better.
Yeah, of course.
So it is. You're never really done with it, but don't neglect it. Don't neglect it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, when people argue that it doesn't matter, think about this. You go into a stream and they play, let's say they play Mario Maker, just like you do. They play Mario Maker, but their panels are like, they have like pencils and paint splashes and like, you're like, I don't know what's going on. And sure, you're into art, but like if you're streaming something that's not art and then all of your stuff is about art, there's that disconnect, and you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. You're going to find someone else who maybe has Mario Maker panels, because you're like, okay, well, this is the atmosphere and channel that I want to be in. This makes sense. They clearly like this. I'm in the right place. So I mean, that stuff, it just matters.
If somebody followed on my stream and the alert was like a soldier from Call of Duty, like going over the top of a trench, and I'm playing Mario, they'd be a bit like, well, hang on a minute, are you a Mario Maker streamer, or are you actually into first person shooters? Like which is it? Because that wouldn't. And the same, if I started playing Call of Duty and they were seeing like different Mario alerts coming up, they'd be like, what? And it would
guaranteed
then it might, like you say, it is that disconnect, and whether they whether they are willingly doing it or not, there will be something there. And do you know what? It might not turn everybody off, but you can guarantee it will turn some people off.
Well, some people are going to be upset because guaranteed first question is, do you ever play Call of Duty? And when you say no, I don't play Call of Duty, people are going to get mad. They're going to be like, well, what the shit, man? Like false advertising. And they're going to get upset and they're going to leave. And not everything, like you can have inside jokes, right? You can have inside jokes. Like for example, my sub badges are coffee related because I like coffee a lot, and we talked about how much I love Starbucks on stream. That's very inside jokey, but I've limited that to my sub badges, which are not important. I mean, not that they're fun and you should put some work into them, but like that's not across, like that's not showing up on my Twitter. That's not showing up in banners. Like it's such a small icon. Like,
and it's all
fun inside things.
Yeah, and it's also not completely unrelated, is it? You do like coffee, so
exactly.
It is a thing.
And my subs will probably know that.
Yeah, like my bit badges are Pokeballs. I have played Pokemon on the stream. It's not something that I make a habit of. Yeah. But like it's not the same, but it's still like Nintendo, and it's still it's still in the ballpark. It's not it's not completely out of the ordinary.
Like your panels are not Pokemon related.
No.
That would be a problem.
That would be weird,
Bit badge, so don't think just because context matters, you can have little touches of fun things. Like, let's say, you are streaming Mario Maker, but you love art a lot. Okay, maybe your sub badges are art or like something like that. Just keep in mind that the big things have to be cohesive. And then even the small things that you change have to relate. For example, my coffee. Everyone who subs is going to get coffee, but if they're a sub, they probably already know that I talk a lot about Starbucks, which again fits with my theme kind of because I'm an energetic person. And
Yeah.
what do you think of when you think of coffee?
Nick.
You know, just having coffee, Nick.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, just having that cohesive theme, I think will just really put you above the rest. It'll just it'll really elevate you.
Yeah.
And I would actually argue that having generic panels is actually not even as bad as having disconnected panels and having a confusing stream. So if you're having troubles with this, I would say, you know, start with more generic and go specialize instead of like specializing the heck out of something, but it's not in the proper direction. Right. That's actually working actively against you pretty hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely give some thought into this. It might take some time to get your panels up. That's fine. But start small. You can always pay someone to do stuff like that later. The colors, I like how you say Jotendo pink. I remember the hex code of my color. So like I put thought, it took me like hours to figure out what yellow I wanted to go with. I'm not kidding. I wanted the perfect amount of, like I didn't want it to be too cool. I didn't want it to be too like, because cool didn't fit with the warm.
Yeah.
Trying to give people.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
thought into it, you know?
Yeah.
And it'll make a difference. It really will. It'll honestly make a difference.
My hex code is DF4C83 for anybody wondering what Jotendo pink is.
Mine's easy. It's FFCC00. I love it.
That is easy.
So that's part of the reason why I chose the yellow too. I was like, that is a nice.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah. So I mean, clearly we've put some thought into it. It's important. I think it is. And you know, if you go to either of our pages, I think you're gonna kind of understand, like, even without knowing a lot about us, like you're kind of hit with this feeling of maybe a bit of who we are. And I think that's important. That's important. Yeah, it shows our personality. It shows who we are. And there's no weird disconnect.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about as our main feature next week, Nick?
So next week, we're going to be talking about who you are as a person. Why should we watch you? What makes you unique? Why should we come to your channel? What kind of content you should stream, and how who you are feeds into what kind of content you would excel at. And then going even further, what is your streamer type? So based on who you are and your personality and the content you want to stream, what type of streamer would you really excel as? Because when you are streaming, you are kind of an entertainer. So having an entertainment personality will really help you to elevate your streams.
Okay, thank you all for listening to the NJP podcast. Please check out all the social media in the descriptions. We are available on all the big podcast formats. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.